First candidate for Sheriff, Jim Napolitano.
Evening, folks. Thanks everybody for coming out. I'm Jim Napolitano, and I'm a candidate for sheriff. I started my career here in law enforcement in Montgomery County in 1983 as a reserve deputy. Moved on to getting a full-time non-paid spot, and in 1986 I was hired by the Secret Service. But that didn't mean that I left Montgomery County. As a Secret Service agent, I lived right here in Conroe. I worked with lots of Conroe PD officers, and I worked with lots of guys from Montgomery County doing investigations. We did everything from counterfeit, fraud, forgery, and worked all through the county, Harris County too, and actually the 13 surrounding counties of this central East Texas area. So I spent a lot of time working with the local PDs and doing major cases and minor cases. It didn't really matter. If it was there, we picked it up. If we could get the U.S. Attorney to file with it, we would do that. After spending 6 years doing that, I found an informant, or a source, as you guys would call it, and we put together a task force with the DEA, the CIA, and the Secret Service. And I was tasked with that task force overseas in Syria, in Cyprus, in Lebanon, Turkey, and we were trying to find individuals that were distributing a counterfeit note called the super note. Spent 2 years doing that, came back from overseas, and President Bush had lost the election, and they needed someone to go to the Bush detail. And I said, I don't want to go, but that's another story. So I ended up there. Tell them you don't want to do something, that's what they send me. So I spent 2 years with former President Bush, went through rescue service school in those 2 years, deployed to Kennebunkport for 2 summers, came back, and then they transferred me to D.C. Finally left Texas. Get up there, and spent 5 years with President Clinton on the Presidential Protective Division, where I was a counter assault team member for 4. Back to the ship, then I went to training division. So I spent 4 years over as a program manager and senior instructor at the training academy. Got transferred when they opened up the Waco office to Waco, Texas, where I was the resident agent in charge in Waco until 2004 when they transferred me back to Houston. And I moved right back to Montgomery County and bought a house in April 7. And I've been there ever since. Left the Secret Service in 2009, went to work in the private sector for a little bit as a security manager for Marathon Oil, and I went back to travel the world again. Got tired of it, and they asked me to live in Iraq, and I said no, I chose my family over Iraq, so started my own business and started doing security work here locally, which I picked up the Woodlands Church and have become a member of the Woodlands Church ever since then. And then about 2.5 years ago, the city of Montgomery called me and asked me, would you be the chief out here in Montgomery? And I said, yeah, I'd love to look at it. I came out there, and ever since then I've been the chief of police for the city of Montgomery. It's been an honor to serve the city, it's an honor to serve the county, and it was an honor to serve the citizens of the United States as a Secret Service agent. And that's where I'm at right now. I think I have a lot of experience that I'd like to bring back to the county, and everything goes in a circle, and I'm back with that circle to bring back the experience that I have, to give it back to the county and to the officers and to the other men and women of the Sheriff's Office as their new sheriff.
Thank you. In your opinion, what are the biggest issues facing the Sheriff's Office at this time?
How many do you want me to talk about, Jason? So I'll talk about the first one. Manpower is the biggest issue. Getting the right amount of people on the street. It is no different than the issues I face at the city of Montgomery. The city of Montgomery, which used to be a little tiny town when I first started working as a deputy, is now getting to be a town thriving with traffic, students, and business. It's getting bigger. Manpower. The Sheriff's Department needs more people getting to those calls to shorten the response time, to take the load off of the deputies that are out there getting calls stacked on them. Because, you know, we in Montgomery, we're on District 5 and District 1 radio frequency. My goodness, those guys are getting killed every day out there. Their load is so huge, and then if someone takes a day off or they get a sick day or for whatever reason something happens in one of the other districts and they have to go down there, then it gets more and more where even our officers will assist District 5 officers whenever they can for whatever this district sergeant or the district lieutenant asks for. So we'll go out there and we'll work in District 5. The jail's no different. The jail needs more manpower. They need the right training and the right manpower. So now manpower leads into training. I was a training officer for the Secret Service. I understand it. I know what it is to have a good academy. And it's not just the bare minimum. And when I talk about that, T. Cole tells us we only need this many hours. Well, maybe it's more than that. Maybe it's not us worried about so much what T. Cole tells us. Maybe the guys on the street need to come back and tell us in management what they need. So I see manpower both in the street, the jail, detective division, not only the cases getting stacked up on those guys, but they need some relief also. They want to make good cases. It's not that they don't want to be out there making their callbacks. It's just that, a human being can only work so much. There's only so many hours in a day, and as a resident agent charge up in Crawford, they used to send me so many guys to hold post in 101, 102 degree weather. And I would call back to headquarters and go, this isn't enough, I need more than this. And they'd say, that's what you're getting. And one guy even said to me on the phone, Brandon, I've never been there, and I really don't know what's going on, but this is what you get. And I basically told him, and I'll be very kind, if I could come through this phone right now and drag you down here, I'd put you on post for the amount of hours you asked me to put these guys out there, and you'd understand what it's like to stand in 102, 103 degree weather and do this. I see the same thing happening at the sheriff's office, and it just needs help. And I hope that we can get that point across to Commissioner's Court, much like I do with the City Council. And, the young man that was up here a minute ago talked about negotiation, and that's what it is. When I first went to City Council there for the City of Montgomery, they had all sorts of parameters, and I explained to them. And I stood up in front of them and said, these are the things that we need. You asked for cars, and I researched the best cars. What car stays the longest on the street, isn't broken, and will work, and gives you the things that you need to get it done. So that's what I researched. And I said, yeah, that one costs a little bit more than the other ones, but darn, let's get the good car that actually works, that we don't have to put it in the shop all the time. And then the officer can get in and be comfortable when his equipment is all there for him. So those are the things that I see.
First of all, thank you for your service.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Do you feel that the sheriff's office is where it used to be in this day and age with all the technology that is available to law enforcement?
No. I think the Montgomery Police Department isn't where it needs to be. I think every day we can make an improvement about what we do for a living. Every day, technology is giving us new ways of doing things. I think that we need to, as law enforcement officers, think outside the box every darn day. And I never want to hear, well, that's the way we've always done it. Well, you know what? That's a bunch of crap. We need to be out there thinking, this is what we need to be getting done. And the line officers need to come in, and I know they get held up by their sergeant and their lieutenant and they follow the chain of command, but there are some days that, some of the most brilliant guys are out there on the street working. Come and tell us, what do we need? And I'm going to ask all the supervisors, if an officer comes in and they have a good idea, get it up the line. Get it up the line, because if you hold it up, I'm going to blame you for it. Because every day, we need to have those guys that are out there working every day, and they think outside the box, they go, hey, this is a great idea. That's what I want to hear. I want to hear the officers out there thinking hard. I want them making their own decisions on the street. Hey, when I'm out there with my guys right now, if we make a traffic stop and I roll up as the chief, all I say to them is, what do you need me to do? So I'm not there as their chief at that point. I'm there as their backup. I'll do whatever they need to. Now, if they come back to me and go, hey, boss, what about this? I go, I don't know, what do you think? What kind of decision do you want to make? I want to hear what they have to say. I want them to make the decisions, not the sergeant or the lieutenant, because you know what? Then what are we paying them for? So, the big thing that we need to do is rely on our officers, give them the training and equipment. So I'll answer that with another statement or a little story. I was out at Harris County Sheriff's Office a few months ago. They were 6 hours at a big demo. And one of the captains came up to me and said, hey, so how many guys got working for you out there? I said, I actually don't have any. He said, you don't have any officers at Montgomery PD? I said, actually I have 16 right now, but they don't work for me. As the chief, I work for them. My job is to get you the equipment, the training, the education, and the things that you need to get your job done, and stay out of your way. The open lines of communication between us and the other side of the hallway, which is, the administrative side, make sure that they're not on top of you and get the things done that you need to get done as the boss, and not get in the way. So, That's what I think.
Good evening, Chief.
Good evening, sir.
Mary.
I'm very well.
In the recent light of all the shootings and the Baltimores and Fergusons and all that, what's your take on community-oriented policing, and does the model work in your opinion?
Okay, community-oriented policing. So let's just start out with those situations. In my opinion, I used to teach use of force at the Secret Service Academy, which is control tactics. I don't think that those chiefs got out in front of the problem because they didn't relay to the community what the proper use of force was for that incident. That the officers on a daily basis, so since 2000, 59 police officers, sheriff's deputies have been killed by unarmed men. Because every time we get to a scene, what do we bring? We bring a gun. And you can be overpowered by somebody quickly and easily, especially if that person understands how to fight and what to do to disable you. So I think that the first problem was that those situations got out of hand because I don't think that sometimes that these supervisors have a good relationship with the press to get that information out front first. Back up your officer, number one. Don't snitch him out, don't throw him under the bus. Find out what the situation is first, and then make sure that the public understands that, you know, there are mistakes that are made by police officers on a daily basis. Of course, we're all human. Everybody's human in this world, and we just have to live with those days. But we're the only ones asked to make a decision in 1.6 seconds on whether to use deadly force or not. But also proper use and training in deadly force. Or I used to have to teach what we call force shift training, which was all the agents coming in off the president's detail, off the vice president's detail, off of all the local details there in the Washington area, and I had to give them use of force. Of course, be that guy up there. All right, guys, come on in. We're going to use the force today. And they're like, oh, crap, man. We got to listen to you go through this all over again. And I said, hey, I'm going to teach you for an hour and a half. If you want to go to sleep in that hour and a half, I can't stop you. But I'm going to put it on the board and we're going to talk about it. And sure enough, by the end of that first 40 minutes, everybody's raising their hand because they want to talk. They want to say something. So it's training our guys in the use of force. What was the second part of that question? I'm sorry.
Does the model of community-oriented policing work?
It does to an extent. I think that every community in every part. So let's talk about Montgomery County as community-oriented policing. We use the same style of community-oriented policing out west, where I'm at right now, in the rural area, as we would do in the woodlands? Probably not. It wouldn't work because it's more rural, and we would have to deal with getting the public together in one spot. That's where we would do it there, where a good officer in the woodlands that has a small sector can get out there and understand who lives in his area, meet them, give them their card. So my rule at my police department right now is I ask every officer to make 10 contacts a day. 10. But the contacts aren't traffic contacts. The contacts are any time you contact a citizen. So if you're driving through the neighborhood and you see someone out gardening, get out and talk to them. Hand them a card. Tell them, hi, I'm Officer so-and-so. I come through here. These are my days on. These are my nights off. Call me if you need anything. But if it's an emergency, use 911. I reiterate that. Get out, talk to the store owners. Stop and talk to the guy who runs the Bolero. Because you know that's the guy who's going to give you the information. Hey, that car came through here 2 weeks ago. And there's some really strange guys in there. So I think community-oriented policing is done differently for each section. That's where the supervisors come in and sit down with their officers and design, what do you guys think? How can we get us across to our neighborhoods better? You're in there every day. You got to tell me. So a model is a great thing to go by, but for us to research it and understand who our audience is, who our customers are. My dad was a New York City policeman. He walked the beat. He knew every store owner on his route. Everybody knew him. Everybody knew him. And it was amazing to watch the relationship he had with the citizens and the people on his sector and how he dealt with it. So it can be done. I think we can do it a little bit better. And when I was running around here in the county back in 1985, it was hard to do. It was real rural. And District 1 was all of District 5 and District 1 together. So I might be out in Davis one day and then down in Four Corners on the next. So it was difficult to say that it was easier to do back then, and only 3 guys in the whole district at one time, so. Yes, sir.
It's kind of a two-part question. What is your stance on the Second Amendment? And as sheriff, would you continue to sign off on the federal firearms Class 3 applications for the county citizens?
What's my stand on the Second Amendment? I probably have more stuff in my gun locker than everybody here. I believe the Second Amendment was truly put there to keep government at bay, not for citizens to have to defend themselves. I don't think that our forefathers ever thought that we would have to defend ourselves from the amount of crime that we have today. I think it was put there to keep them, at the time, the British from invading our land and coming back. And they did in 1812, didn't they? Came right back and turned the White House down again. Not that it was even hard to do. The Second Amendment is very important. I think that we as citizens should exercise our right as law-abiding citizens to carry a firearm, to protect ourselves, because you know what? We're all cops. We can't be everywhere at once, can we? You know, how many times you hear that, well, you know, where's a cop when you need one? Well, the Second Amendment gives us the right to carry a firearm, to defend our families and our homes from anyone that might intrude on our ability to have liberty. So, I expect, when I stop people, I say, do you have any weapons in vehicles? And they go, no. And you have a CHL, but you don't have a weapon in your vehicle? Shame on you. You should have that weapon to protect yourself and your family against whatever's going on. What's the second part of that? I'm sorry.
Would you continue to sign off on the federal firearms Class 3 applications for county citizens?
Yes, I would. I'd like to sign off on my own too. So I would continue to sign off on whether you want to have a suppressor or a short barrel firearm, or even if you got a Class 3 and you wanted to go ahead and have a full auto weapon. If you pass the background, I don't see you. If you're the same as anyone else who just wants to carry a handgun. If you're a law-abiding citizen and you don't abuse it, that's great. I'd love to come out and shoot full auto weapons with anybody that want to go. So, you know, I have to admit that, you know, when I was at the Secret Service, they paid me to go do that. It was, you guys have to believe that, you know, going to the range on all day was really fun. So,
Chief, thank you for coming. You talked about, on your opening statements, about the manpower problems that we have.
yes, sir.
If you became sheriff, what would your plan be, first of all, to get us qualified applicants and to keep them here once we got them here?
Okay. How do you keep people? First, how do you find them? So there's 2 ways, I think, of how we would find people. Number 1, we need equipment. And there's a big manpower pool just south of us with a whole bunch of police officers that aren't always real happy down there. So, and they live up here. So let's go get them. Let's give them an incentive to come up here and work. Let's use their experience that they got on the streets of Houston, Harris County, Fort Bend County, I don't care where they come from. I don't care if they come from some other city, you know, San Antonio, Austin, whatever. Let's give them an incentive. Let's convince Commissioner's Court that we need to pay an incentive to bring an officer in here. Let's have an accelerated program at our training division with FTOs that are going to put them on the street quickly. So we get a good team. I just hired a young man today. He's got 11 years. And I stole him away from another police department. And we're going to put him into the FTO car for, you know, forever long it takes, probably only 2 weeks. Because the last guy stole from C4 before that. He took him 2 weeks to figure out what we were doing. And then he was out running hard. And, you know, that's how we get going quicker, is we want to get a program. You guys have the knowledge right now because y'all work here. But we want to give it to the guys that we can go grab from. And we'll probably even steal from PD the best we can. There is, you know, all I have to say is this, and this is my policy also. Loyalty is great, but my loyalty to you as an officer is to give you the best thing that I can give you so that you can do your job. And then secondly, I'm going to ask you, where do you want to be in 10 years? You're going to be in 5 years. And maybe a young guy says, hey, I like doing this, but I want to be this in 5 years. Well, then we're going to try to get you a program Because the loyalty we want for you is right now, which is be on the street, do the right job, and take care of us. So the second part of that, that you asked, is what's our long term? Our long term would be, I think the academy should be full-time academy, running, except for Christmas Day and Thanksgiving, that they should be running. Commissioners Court should fund that to run, because that's our, our greatest resource isn't our cars, our guns, our computers, it's our people. And to get the right people is what we need to do. So, where do we go? We put together 5 guys, and you're the recruiting team. Yeah, and, but you guys are all experts at what you do right now. Well, I'd be taking a hiatus for a few weeks, and you guys are going to be the recruiting team. And they're going to have a job fair at Sam Houston State University. So we're like, you learn from other people. Exxon does a great job of recruiting people. So in the geology department, what they do is they go out and teach courses in geology. And they fill up these rooms. It's a seminar course, and the young students come and they take the seminar course, and they get some credit for it. So we go teach courses. And we see who's the best in the class. And at the end of that class, we get out of these 2 guys and go, you guys are finished. We want you to come to Montgomery County Sheriff's Office. We want you to come to the best sheriff's department in the entire state of Texas. And probably the United States now, because this is what we're going to offer you. We're going to give you a signing bonus. We're going to put you on. We're going to put you through the academy as quickly as possible. You're going to sign a little deal. You're going to stay for 5 years. Where you're going to pay us back for all the stuff that we're going to put you through. But we want you, because you're the best. And we're going to try to steal them. Forget the best. We'll try to steal them first. So that's, I used to recruit for the Secret Service. That's what we used to do. We'd go to these colleges and not make it, like a mid-level thing. We're going to go out and pick the best that we can find and bring them in here and make this sheriff's department the best that we can make it. And that's what I'm thinking about. Can I do it? You're darn right I can. So, let's put it together and go out there and do it. So that's what I'm looking to do.
Given the modern history, most sheriffs serve more than 1 term. If elected sheriff, you would be more than likely in office after the next census. Are any of your current plans taken into consideration for all the changes that come with a population count of over 500,000 for the county?
Yes, sir. I think that the sheriff's office needs to be thinking strategically. The more people we get in this county, the more we become a target for mass casualty situations. Okay. So, having said that, this sheriff's department needs to grow exponentially with the population as it grows. And I'm doing the same thing at the city of Montgomery. Every time they put a new apartment complex in, or they put a new subdivision, I'm before city council going, folks, you want to keep the 4-minute response time, you're going to have to give me 1 or 2 more people. And that's what we need to be doing in Commissioner's Court. Every time we see another new developer come and put 70 houses, 80 houses, 90 houses, we need to go back to Commissioner's Court and go, folks, that's great, we're developing this county. It's almost too fast. We can't keep up with the growth. So we need to keep up with the growth by doing better recruiting and moving guys and ladies into the jobs that need to be done as quickly as possible. So the census, and Jason, as you all know, when I was here, it was 125,000 people the first time, and now it's 524,000 people. So when I came back the first time and saw that big building in the Woodlands, what the hell is that? Seriously, I left here and there was nothing, the Woodlands was still kind of flat, and I come back after 6 or 7 years, and all of a sudden there's high-rise buildings on I-45. I was astounded. And then 105 went from a 2-lane highway to 7 lanes. It's kind of like, wow, there's 7 lanes out there. Now, on a Friday night, you can't get down 105 going westbound. I got stuck in traffic last week, so we need to keep up. We need to be ahead, and I actually complain about this all the time. I watch school districts build buildings, and then they're already full by the time they build their new building. We need to be ahead of the plan, and we need to get the folks at the Commissioner's Court to think ahead of the plan too. We don't need to be always playing catch-up, especially in law enforcement. We need to be ahead of the plan, and I hope that we can do that by cooperation with the constables' offices, with all the other police departments that we have. We have about 13 cities, incorporated cities. We need to put this all together a little bit better. We all have intelligence that we need to be sharing with each other. We need guys sitting in a room, and they'll rotate through. So again, it's not like something when you're assigned to intelligence division, you're just stuck there for the rest of your career. Nonsense. You need to bring fresh ideas in there. So as things grow, we need an intelligence division that works with Conroe PD, that works with Precinct 2, Precinct 5, you know, Roddy Hayden's guys. Everybody's getting different intel because it's a different neighborhood. We need to figure out who's over there working. And just because there's a line down there that says Harris County and Montgomery County, the bad guys don't see that line. They come up there all the time. So we need to be growing and being out ahead as far as a law enforcement agency, ahead of the crowd as it's coming in.
Thank you. I think you kind of touched on this already a little bit, but what are your goals to make this a better sheriff's office for its employees?
You know, there's a lot to be said for that. And what I think is that we need to listen to more of what the employees have to say. They need more input into how we deal with things on a daily basis. But on the other hand, we need good supervisors to be thinking for our guys, not for themselves. And like I just said a few minutes ago, the biggest resource we have is our employees. It's the thing that we're looking to do. It's because if you don't want, you got good guys and you're happy to go to work, you don't have to watch them anymore. You know, we don't have to look for that problem. They're going to be out there and there's not going to be a problem. And if someone, a police officer, a person in administration or anything else that does something wrong on a daily basis because they think they're getting away with something, it comes to the surface. You don't have to go look for it because it just comes out. You know, it's not like I have to research everyone every day. Actually, I want our supervisors to be looking for what our officers and our deputies do well. You know, hey, Bob, he's a great report writer, and he's very meticulous, and he's to the point. He's going to make a great detective someday because he listens. He goes out, he doesn't have a lot to say, but he listens, and he writes it really well. You know, and then we might find John over here, he's great at traffic. And he likes going out to the accidents, and he likes, so maybe we should push him, hey, and ask him, what do you want to do? And do we do that enough? Do we ask our officers on a daily basis, when they come in, how's it going today? What do you need to get done? Are you getting the extra training that you need? Or, even better, you know, I just looked down here, and you haven't taken a vacation day in 9.5 months. Next week, start thinking about it. I want you to go home, talk to your spousal unit, and figure out when you're taking time off, because I'm telling you, get out of here for a few days, take a break, and go do family stuff, because you can't do this on a daily basis and keep your sanity, because you're going to burn yourself out. So that's what I think about on a daily basis. I do that with the guys that I have.
Do you feel that there's enough transparency between all of the different agencies, law enforcement agencies in the county? And if not, how would you approach and correct the issue?
So, Ward, I'm going to ask you just one quick question. When you say transparency between the agencies, are you just meaning, are they not working together well enough and sharing information, or is the transparency for the general public?
But between the agencies themselves.
Okay. No, I don't think there's complete transparency, or working together. And I'll tell you why. The city of Montgomery butts up next to the city of Conroe. And if the Conroe PD guys get to Walmart, and he's by himself because there's not that many guys out there, because the other two guys are tied up doing something else, and he gets into a storm, as we used to call them, right? And he starts calling for assistance, the next closest guy that he has is in the city of Conroe. So then he's going to drive that 105 corridor out there, where there's 2 Montgomery units less than a minute and a half away. Why is that? And that's because we don't listen to each other. We all want to keep our little kingdoms right here. Well, we got to get over that. We got to get over ourselves a little bit too. And if I know that Conroe PD officer's in trouble, I'm going. I don't care. I know that Sheriff's Department got, matter of fact, one of my guys responded last December to a man with a gun holding an AK-47 on a sheriff's deputy. Yeah? And my guy tased him, because he wasn't going to stand there and have a guy holding an AK-47 on him. Actually, I said that was the wrong use of force. He used intermediate force, but he should have used deadly force. Guy got out of the car with 2 rifles and a pistol stuck in his belt. I'm sorry, you're threatening me with an AK-47, I'm not standing there. I've seen what it can do. And that's the other unfortunate part of a lot of these guys don't know. So, how do we get better cooperation? We got to sit down and talk. We got to get together with the DA's office. We got to sit in a room and yell at each other, call each other names, but in the end, we need to come out with the ability to work with each other on a daily basis. You know, and I know that, you know, Brownie's guys work with the District 3 guys a lot, but it doesn't always work that way. We see that there is a lot of disconnect. I go to the Chiefs meeting every 3 months, and there's nobody from the Sheriff's Office there. Nobody. You know, I'm sitting in the Chiefs meeting, and I said to them one day, why don't we have anybody from the Constable's Office or Sheriff's Office? We don't want them here. I'm not telling you why, you know, I'm just telling you that I will try to fix that. And that needs to be fixed. We all need to work together. Our goal is the same thing, is to fight crime and to give our citizens what we need. We need to remember that we're public servants, that they're our customers. And, you know, I always say there was I went to Houston Field Office one day and I'm walking past a duty agent spot. And the guy answers the phone and says, Secret Service. And I waited for him to finish the call. And when he finished, I said, hey, Johnny, who are you mad at today? What do you mean? He said, who are you angry with? I said, the way you answered the call, I said, you know, do you think people call the Secret Service for fun? They call here because they have a problem. And they're trying to get this issue fixed. They don't call us for fun. Hey, I'm going to call the Secret Service today and see what they're doing. You know, that doesn't happen. It's the same thing with the Sheriff's Office. You know, the citizens don't sit around and go, hey, I'm going to call the SO because I'm going to have a good day. Something bad has happened, and they're trying to get information from us or assistance. So our job as public servants is to truly get that customer, figure out what they need, and try to get them the service that they need as quickly as possible. That happens with cooperation. You know, there are some guys in the room here that I work with that are now over at the Constable's Office. I've known them for years, and I rely on them. They've gone to war with me back in the 80s, and if they called me tomorrow, I'd be right behind them right now. Hey, I'm right there. And I would do that for you guys too. The point is that we need to forget the barriers. We need to forget that just because my patch is a little bit different than yours, that there's some kind of difference in the way we do policing. We need to work together on the street. We need to pass information to each other. And I think that can be done if we just open up a little bit at the top and let the guys at the bottom get the job done.
Chief, just briefly, you have anything to add in closing?
All I got to say is that what I want to do for the county is bring back all the education and the experience that I had. And, you know, it's not, some people will say it's braggadocious or I'm arrogant in the way I do things. I've been there, right? I did close quarter battle with the Delta Force. I did close quarter battle with SEAL Team 6. Did I go through training down at Fort Bragg? Did I go on foreign trips? Was I in Russia, Bosnia, Herzegovina, all these places? The government sent me there. Was it fun all the time? No. You know, everyone thinks that you can jump on a C-17, that it's a great trip. You know, it's not a great trip because those guys in the Air Force, they'll fly through anything. And it's not fun. But it was the experience. It was that experience level that I want to bring back here and give back to the guys. It's those connections that I've made over the years with the FBI, with the DEA, with the ATF, with all the different services. And I know that's the bad word around here, the ATF. Well, you know what? They're police officers just like we are. They're out there for the same mission we are. Because there are bad people with guns, and they'll shoot a police officer in a heartbeat. And we need to stop. I can tell you, fellas, beginning of September, I went to the Police Officer Memorial in Washington, D.C. It's atrocious to see how many names are on that wall. I mean, come on. And we don't go out with a level of, of a casualty rate like the Army and the Navy does. You know, we're going to figure 15 guys are going to get it today. We don't do that. We figure everybody comes home and goes back to their family. And I think with the right training, the right experience, the right connections, the right working together, we can bring down that level. I got to say, I thank God every day, and I pray every day that everyone comes home. The last one we lost was in 1983, right when I got started, and Sergeant Ed Holcomb got shot in. And that's a long time ago without an officer dying in the line of duty, with as many officers as we have and as many agencies we have. So, and I looked up Ed's name when I was there, because, I didn't know the man well. I knew him, but I just, I'd seen him on the street a few times. I looked it up. He's, just to say that I went and found his name. We need to make sure that we have the right training, the right people at the top to open those doors for you guys to get your job done. And I think I'm that right guy, not because, I'm God's gift to the world, because I was able to get that training I lucked out, that door opened for me and I went through it as fast as I could. And it was fun. I had a great time. There were days I wanted, truthfully, there were a lot of days I wanted to be home and be a Montgomery County deputy because, you know, when I was sitting in a car in Russia freezing my butt off, I thought, wow, I'd rather be home in Texas than this any day. So that's what I think, folks. I hope I convinced you. If you have any questions, you can go to my website. You can send me a message and we'll talk about it. But I'm here for you guys. That's what I'm trying to do. Thank you very much. Oh.
Chief, they pretty much answered every question.
Don't you hate that?
Yeah, I will only ask one question. It's obviously going to be a little specific, being a comment. If elected, is there anything on your top agenda list that you would change between the county and the city?
Absolutely. And that would be that we can hear your radios and you can hear mine. That, as I brought up earlier, I want to be able to know that, you know, I don't have to talk on your primary, but if I hear it, at least I know that that officer needs assistance right now. 3 or 4 Saturdays ago, I was coming back into home in April Sound, and there was one Commonwealth PD officer, had 15 bikes pulled over, and here come all the rest of them back. 70 of them, and I was counting them. I immediately called my guys, and I said, get on down here. They were right in front of the dam. I said, I don't care, leave the city, get on down here and help out Conroe PD. And on the way, they get on the phone with your dispatcher, and then the dispatcher disregarded them about halfway there. But the point is that I didn't like the odds. So I think that our ability to hear each other, just hear each other, will make a great difference. And you know what? Also be able to hear EMS and fire. Because I see the fire truck go by town all the time. Wonder where they're going. And then sure enough, about 8, 9 minutes later, I hear, assist another agency, because they have a problem when they get there. I think us knowing is having, and when we talk about the transparency board, that's the transparency. It's us being able to hear each other. We don't have to talk on each other's primary. And I think the guys that you guys have over there at your drug unit are doing a great job, and I think the guys over there are doing a great job. Why do we have 2? Why do we have 2? We need 1. And there's a bad drug problem out in the city of Montgomery. It's bad. And the kids are getting stuff. We need that. So these are the things that I see that we could help each other out with. Because some of the kids live in the city of Conroe now. Because now, actually, I'm under your jurisdiction. And before, I could hear what's going on in that neighborhood. Now I can't hear it at all. So it's kind of, I would rather be able to know when I'm working in the city of Montgomery that if my wife would call Conroe PD and said, hey, I need a unit here right now, I'd be able to hear that too. So. Good. Well, thank you very much. I think that we've burned enough time. I appreciate it. Thanks, Chief.